AI is a scary thing. It can do a lot of things much faster than humans can. A lot of chatbots like ChatGPT or Google Gemini can write up essays, they can do your homework, and many people think they're going to take over our jobs. But there is one area where chatbots can just not do it. And that area is chess. Chatbots cannot play chess, but they think they can. And that is never a good combination. In this video, I'll be showing you a game played between the Martin Chessbot on chess.com and Google Gemini. Now, if there's one thing you need to know about Martin, it's that he doesn't play well. And if there's one thing you need to know about Gemini, it's that it doesn't play chess, period. And you know what that makes for? Good content. So let's get into the video. So, Martin has the white pieces and Gemini has the black pieces. And the game starts. Martin starts with pawn to d4. This is a common starting opening move. And I can't really say that it's bad because a lot of top players play it. So, in this position, Gemini plays e5. This is called the England Gambit, and it's an alright opening. It's not usually played at top level. It has a lot of common traps in it, but overall, it's more of a trappy opening where if your opponent knows what to do, it's not usually going to end well for you. Anyways, here Martin plays e3, and Gemini continues, knight to f6, and here Martin plays d5. Why does it play d5? Good question. I'm not a really big fan of this move, but the game continues. Now here, we witness Google Gemini playing the first of many interesting moves. Here it goes, pawn takes d5. You're probably very confused right now. You may be wondering, wait, pawns can't capture sideways. However, Google Gemini does not care what you think. If it wants to take the pawn on d5, it's going to take the pawn on d5. The game continues. Martin goes knight to f3. And here, Google Gemini realizes it can bring its bishop all the way here and give you a check. Usually it's not a good idea to just give a check for the sake of giving a check, but here it works out decently well as you develop a piece and you give a check at the same time. Here, Martin plays arguably one of the worst moves in this position besides queen to d2. Here, Martin plays king to e2. This is not a good move, as now you've blocked your bishop in, and you've lost your right to castle. Here, being an absolute genius like it is, Google Gemini plays bishop takes c3. In case you're confused, you should be. It says bishop takes c3 check. Not only does this not take anything, this is not a check. But since this move is legal, I did allow it. Here, Martin continues with queen to d3. And here, Gemini brings its bishop back to b4. Here, Martin does not play a very good move. He goes queen to c3. This obviously blunders a queen in one move, and Gemini sees it. Again, thinking this is check. This is not check. And bishops don't move like knights. That's not how chess works. But Martin continues by playing g3, and then we get to see Gemini play castles, which is a legal move in this position, thankfully. Here Martin plays a rook to g1, and Gemini here declares that it is in fact the winner of this game. Its thought process here is knight takes c5, then black makes a second move, queenside castle, then black makes a third move, d6, then black makes a fourth move, queen to c6, then black makes a fifth move, taking on c5 with its other knight, then it takes on c5 with its queen, then white plays queen to d3, and here black plays queen to h4, checkmate. What? That's not at all how chess works. It just made like 50 moves in a row. So I told it that, no, you can't do that. That's not chess. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Let's just continue the game. And here, instead, it decided to play knight takes c5 anyway. Martin goes knight bd2. And Gemini continues with queen to c6, which no, queens cannot jump over pieces or move like knights. But Gemini does not care. Martin plays g4, and Gemini makes a legal move in this position by playing h6. This is probably the most normal part of this game. Here, Martin finally wakes up and realizes he can take this. So he does. And here, Gemini decides it can take this. It can't, but it does. And after taking this, Martin goes bishop to h3. Now, this is obviously not a good move. Blunders a rook. Or, if you're Gemini, it blunders a bishop. Obviously, the bishop can't jump over pieces either. So at this point, it's pretty much lost for Martin. He's lost all hope of fighting back. He's losing all of his pieces. No matter what he does, he loses pieces. So here, in a last-ditch effort, he goes knight to e4, hoping that Gemini will somehow not see that its queen is under attack. Not only does Gemini see that its queen is under attack, but it manages to defend in this position with the move queen takes e4. How it came to the conclusion that this move was allowed, I don't know. But we've already discussed this and realized that Gemini isn't that familiar with chess. Here, Martin plays rook to e1. There's not much Martin can do. Martin in this position is completely lost. Or is he? In this position, Gemini plays queen takes e1. Of course, Martin is still completely lost, but at least he wins a queen here. But then Gemini decides it doesn't want to lose its queen, so it makes another queen. But after the king takes, Gemini finally ultimately decides, okay, I don't have any more queens left. And it plays d4 here. Here, Martin actually plays a pretty smart move. He goes bishop to a3. You're attacking this knight. It's not a total pin because he can play d6. But you're developing your last two pieces, and you can't fault him for that. Here, Gemini plays d3. After Martin plays e4, it goes d2 check. It did actually say this one was a check. And so the king takes. Here, Gemini plays king to d7. It didn't say king takes d7, it just said king to d7. Martin here plays rook to c1, and Gemini plays king to c6. And Martin is still completely lost. So Martin here decides to play bishop to b2. Now, he's attacking his pawn maybe, but he doesn't really have that many winning chances left. So Gemini just moves its king to b5. Now, it's never a good idea to bring your king out in the middle of the open, but, I mean, Martin only has two pieces left. It's not like Gemini can do that much. Or it's not like that Martin can do that much. So, after king b5, Martin embraces his inner Gotham chess clip and plays rook to b1. Gemini actually blunders a pawn here, but not this pawn. It blunders this pawn. If you can see this tactic, it's a simple discovered check. This bishop takes this pawn, and now the king is in check. And miraculously, I don't know how he does it, but Martin finds this move. And despite the fact that this was a nice trick, there's no way to defeat Gemini. Or is there? After 7 straight legal moves, Gemini gives up another one of its pieces. And now it only has a plus or a -2 advantage. And that is still very bad, but it's progress. Here, after this, we got after king takes c5. I'm sorry about that. After king takes c5, we got bishop to e7. And here, Gemini decides to play king to d4. Now, why it decides this? Well, it is a legal move, so I don't actually really care why it decided to choose this. Here, Martin plays rook to b4 check. Now here, Gemini decides to play king to c3. And I tell it, no, you can't do that. And believe me, I did try to get this position to see what Martin would play here, but no matter what I tried, it wouldn't allow Martin to make a move in this position. So I told it, no, you can't do that. So it goes, oh, then I'll go here. I still tell it, no, you can't do that either. So then it goes, oh, then I'll go to c4. And at this point, I ultimately tell it, no, you can only really play one move, and that is king to e5. After king to e5, Martin actually finds that this rook is free and decides to take it. But here, Gemini is not having any of this almost even game. It says white to move. If it's black to move, it's not as even. But it's progress for Martin. It decides it's not having this, so it takes the bishop. Here, Martin decides to play f3. After f3, Gemini decides to take it. And Martin plays rook to b3. And here, Gemini decides to play rook takes f1 check. Again, it's not taking anything, and this is not a check. But it is a legal move, so I allow it. After rook takes check, here, Martin decides to go g5. g5 is played. Gemini decides, hey, I can take this. And you know what? That's exactly what it decides to do. And Martin used this little decoy. You see, when Martin decided to play g5, there was really no purpose to it, but this sneaky little attack allowed Martin to capture this bishop. And this is still not good for Martin, but again, progress is progress. After rook takes h3, Gemini decides to play rook to f3. And for the first time in this game, Martin is winning. And you know what? Martin finds the correct move. So anyways, in this position, Gemini decides to play. It sees that it can make an illegal move with this pawn. But it decides, you know what, I've been too mean to Martin. So instead of taking here, it takes on h3. h3. You might be confused as there was nothing on h3. But instead, x h3. So we went with it. Or I went with it. Anyways, Martin plays rook to f7. After this, Gemini decides to play rook to f8. But Martin's not having any of this nonsense, so he takes it. Martin has been playing better than I remember him playing. But here, Gemini decides that the game is a draw. And you want to know why it decides this game is a draw? It says king takes f8, king to e3, king to f4. I don't know either. King to g7, king to g5, king to h7, king to h5, king to g7, king to g4, king to h7, king to h4. And you want to know what's funny? It went on to make king moves for 100 more moves. It went up to move 130 here. And of course, I was like, no, absolutely not. So instead, it plays king takes f8. And I decided, you know what, this is basically its way of saying, would you like a draw? Of course, I can't offer Martin a draw because chess.com doesn't allow you to offer draws to bots. So I did a coin flip, and I said if it was tails, I would accept the draw. If it was heads, I wouldn't. And it landed on heads. So here Martin plays king to e2. And Gemini plays king to h7. Martin plays king to f3. Gemini plays king to h8. Here, Martin plays c3. And Gemini actually makes a critical mistake here. It takes its own pawn. Now, it doesn't look like it right now. But this move, ultimately, king to g4 is played. King to h7. King to f5 is played. King to h6. Oh my goodness, what is going to happen? King to e6 is played. King to g7. a3. King to h7. King to f6. King to h8. King to e8. Wait. Sorry. Wait. Back. Hold on. Wait. King to h7. King to f6. It says king to... I'm sorry, my notation says after king to f6. King to h8. King to g6 here is played. And something really funny happened. Here, Gemini tried to play king to h7. So I told it, no, you can't do that. So here it plays king to h6. And I tell it, no, you can't do that. So it plays this. I say, no. It plays this. And I say, no. It plays this. I said, no. It plays this. I said, no. It plays this. I said, no. And finally, plays king to h8. And you want to know the funniest part of all? After it basically skipped its own move, this was a blunder. A horrible blunder. Here, the game is actually, if it's black to move, it's actually not horrible for black. Go here, the opposition, and you can go over, and you have the extra knight, so you have a chance to win this. But by skipping your own move, you know what happens? Martin plays king to f7. Gemini goes king to h7. King to h7. e5 is played. e5. King to h8. King to h8. King to e8. King to h7 is played. e6. King to h8. Oh my goodness, what is going to happen? King to f7. It plays king to h8. It passes its own move back. King to g6. It has the same problem, or does it? No. In this position, it tries to play king to h7. I tell it no. It plays king to g8. It goes e7. Here it tries to play king to g7. I tell it no. It tries to play king to h7, and I tell it no. Here it plays king to h8. And on move 51 of this game, Martin goes pawn to e8. Goes queen. And successfully defeats Gemini. You see, chess is a game of many things. A lot of people find it a great way to learn strategy. Some people just like seeing goofy entertainment. But some people can see it as art. And maybe this goofy little game that I just showed you can help prove that to you. Thank you for watching.